Hello and welcome to another Cliff Reviews Art House. This time I'm reviewing the film The Surfer, directed by Lorcan Finnegan. The only film that I've seen previously by this director is Vivarium. Vivarium was entertaining, but ultimately I was dissatisfied with it, and I can say exactly the same for The Surfer. This is a Kafkaesque nightmare set on a beautiful Australian beach. Nicolas Cage plays an unnamed man who returns to the beach of his childhood, only to be humiliated by a group of local surfers who declare that he no longer belongs. The conflict begins as petty, kind of alpha male posturing, but spirals into something stranger, a paranoid, dreamlike journey in which reality and identity unravel. Sleeping in his car, scorched by the sun, stalked by visions, including possibly of himself, Cage's character undergoes what might be described as a ritual initiation or a complete psychological breakdown. At its core, The Surfer is a film about disappointment, the disappointment of aging, of ego, of what capitalism promises. Cage's character is a man who believed in the promises of success, ownership and status, and now finds himself unmoored. His descent reveals the hollowness of those ideals, particularly the capitalist notion that one can possess land, status or identity. The beach he returns to becomes a metaphor for this failure. Once a symbol of youthful belonging, it now violently rejects him. The film also touches, sometimes subtly, sometimes directly, on the psychology of racism and exclusion. The surfers claim that they own the waves simply by being there longer, perhaps mirrors broader patterns of entitlement and settler logic. That hostility toward outsiders, especially those who don't conform to their codes, reveals how deeply identity and geography are entangled. Cage's character is punished not just for returning, but for thinking he had any right to return at all. Visually, the film is striking. Blue sky, blue sea, this is a beautiful spot. Yet at times the car park feels like a living hell. The toilets are filthy, the bins overflowing, the heat relentless. It's a kind of purgatory, stuck between paradise and decay. The beauty of the beach becomes taunting, almost cruel, as Cage's character spirals into isolation, just meters away from something idyllic. It's a brutal metaphor for exclusion, being close enough to see what you once had or thought you deserved, but being barred from re-entering it. And Nicolas Cage is excellent. This is a perfect role for him. Twitchy, volatile, wounded. He brings a desperate sadness to this character, who otherwise might be insufferable. His performance carries the film, even as the script refuses to offer much emotional modulation. And this brings me to my biggest criticism of the film. The Surfer confines its protagonist to an unrelenting nightmare. The metaphor of a man cracking under the weight of his masculinity and ego is clear early on, yet the film never shifts in tone or deepens its inquiry. The situation just keeps getting worse and worse, and that's the bulk of the story. It's really well done and it never felt boring, but it just felt a bit superficial. The film does flirt with possibly intriguing elements in the final act, the doppelganger, the strange initiation, but they felt gestural. Compared to David Lynch, for example, whose surrealism is grounded in emotional contrast and human depth, Finnegan's film feels like a single feverish note stretched too long. There is a hint of redemption in the final scene, but by then, the narrative has exhausted its power. The moment may or may not be real. The surreal elements that are introduced toward the end could all have been really interesting. But it's like the film is just enjoying reveling in our protagonist's descent to allow these other possibilities to breathe. It's interesting to compare The Surfer with the other Finnegan film that I've seen, Vivarium. They both suffer from the same problem for me. They're interesting stories, well done, but once we have the basic idea, it's stretched out over the whole film with not enough variation. It also made me think of Ari Aster's Beau is Afraid, which I reviewed on the channel a little while back. I had the same criticism of that. Still, this is a film worth watching for the performance and the texture. This is Nicolas Cage at his best, and Finnegan is clearly a director with something to say, even if the surfer doesn't quite manage to say it fully. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.